What's up, friends? Julian Stambouli here, the nerdy filmmaker. So a lot of the times people get really overwhelmed when they open up a new piece of software, and Premiere is no exception. And so to help with your ease of entry, I'm going to give you a little tour of the basic layout of Adobe Premiere. So when you first open up Premiere and start your first timeline, it's going to look a little daunting. So let's just look at what we have over here. So right now you have a few different panels. You've got this one on the top left, this one on the top right, bottom left. And you're going to notice a few tabs up here. And what these tabs are going to do is essentially change the layout of your windows to better suit whatever you might happen to be doing. If you're doing color, you can go there. If you're doing audio, if you're doing graphics, which includes text, then you can go and click on the text tab. But I'm going to show you the editing layout because that's the thing that we use most often. And not only that, within each window, we have multiple different tabs. There's a lot of different windows that we can be using in Premiere, and to have them all laid out would be pretty complicated. And so there's a lot of things that are nested within each other. So you'll notice I actually already have some stuff down here on the bottom left. So I'm going to start here. When you're down here and you see project and then the name of the project that you've started, that is your media kind of layout. Whatever you've imported into your project is going to go over here. I was going to say library, but I see there is something called library over here, so I just don't want to confuse you. So whenever you import something to use in your project, that is where you're going to put it. And there's a number of ways you can do that. You can either double click in some of the empty space over here and it would bring something up. You can drag and drop from your Windows folders. If you just kind of put that over, you can drag and drop. Or you can go File, Import. All three of those things do the exact same thing. It adds files from outside of your Premiere project into your project. Also in here, you have folders, and this is called bins. And so within those bins, you can have multiple different things stored away, and you can rename them at any point just by, like how you rename anything else, just click there twice and retype what you want to name it. When you rename something in Premiere, it does not rename it outside of Premiere, just so you know. You also have a few other different tabs here, as I mentioned before, and these may not be exactly laid out the same way as yours. Your effects tab might be up here, or some of these might not be open, so you can always go over here and toggle them to open up, and it'll open up within one of these, generally within one of these two squares over here. The effects tab is definitely something that you're going to want to use often. That's where you can find any effects that you would put onto any of your clips, whether it's audio or visual, or transitions as well are located here. So I'm going to go back to this section over here. And if you go up to source, so the two that you're probably going to use the most up here are source and effect controls. So what source does is that at any point you can double click any of the files that are in your library over here, and it's going to open up over here. So these are actually all my new intro sequences, and I have one for each project that I've directed, and so I can always preview stuff over here. As I press play, you see this little playhead go across. Think of it like a record player or something like that. I mean, we're all used to playheads by now. But at any point, I can drag this across like this, right? Look at this. Sorry, Liz. So that's a preview monitor. This is your actual project. So whatever your project is going to look like as you're editing is going to be in that top right window. And the actual editing is being done on the bottom right. So this is your timeline. So what I can do is I can drag and drop stuff into my timeline. So let's say I'll take this best plan ever and I'll put it there, and it's now here and it's now appearing up here. And if I press space to press play, there it goes. Again, if I wanted to preview another clip to see which one I want to put next, I can double click somewhere else and it's going to appear up here. And I can drag and drop that as well. You can drag and drop directly from the screen or from your library. So now let's take a look at the effects controls. If I went to one of these things, let's say I took this clip over here and I clicked it, you can see it's highlighted in white. And and I go up to my effect controls, that's where I'll find a bunch of parameters that associate to this clip. So you have position, which is your left to right, and your up to down. At any point you can press these arrows next to them to reset it. You have your scale, which is to increase or reduce the size. Reset that. You have your rotation. Whoa! Slow down there, Charlotte. And then you have anchor point and anti-flicker, which are not often used, so I'm not gonna go over that. Opacity is your how see-through something is. So if you have multiple things stacked on top of each other and you make the top one with a lower opacity, you'll start to see the other thing underneath it through. That wasn't proper English, that wasn't even a full sentence, but you know what I mean. And then finally you have your volume. You also have blend modes. I didn't talk about that, but that's how the top layer and the bottom layer interact. And so I guess I'll show an example. I'm gonna take this clip over here and lift it up a layer. So you'll see you have V1, V2, V3, A1, A2, A3. Those are video layers and audio layers. And so I'm just lifting this up to the next layer and bringing it over. If I were to have done it without lifting it, then it would have just pasted over the previous clip and kind of deleted a portion of it. So I'm gonna lift it up, move it over, and just show you that right now I see this thing on top. But as soon as I lower the opacity, I'll start to see the other thing underneath it, and I can play both at the same time, which just looks crazy. I can also play with the blend modes. Blend modes are fun to play around with if you're trying to do some kind of effects, one thing on top of each other. If you click there, I'm not gonna go through all of these. You should definitely play around with them, but they affect how different brightnesses on the top layer and colors on the top layer affect ones on the bottom. You know, so like, whoa, cray cray. So I'm just gonna undo all of that. There we go. So you have another little window over here that's kind of nestled between these two, and these are your tools. So you've got your arrow tool and you got your razor tool, and those are the two you're gonna use the most. You can select them over here, but if ever you hold your cursor over one of these buttons, it's gonna give you the hotkey associated with it. And learning hotkeys is the fastest way to increase your editing speed. So if ever you're curious about a new tool, you hold over there, you see razor tool C. Press C, it switches to that. Arrow is V, conveniently placed next to each other on the keyboard. And that's how you can switch back and forth between them really, really quickly. You should go over these tools and experiment what they do, because a lot of them can be very helpful to just, you know, speed up your process a little bit more. Now you can customize your layout by moving stuff around in here. You can drag one thing and drag it to another. So like I can bring this over here or something. And then when you find one setup that you like, you can always save your workspace by going to Workspaces and say save as a new workspace. And so at any point you can load back up that layout. If we come back to this lower left section over here, you'll see a couple of buttons over here. You've got list view and you've got icon view. And so that switches to something where you can kind of see even quicker some previews of stuff. And if you double click, you can kind of see all of these down like this. You've got some other buttons down here. You can create new items like new sequences, adjustment layers. You can get your bars and tones, just some black video. So you can get all that there. And you can always search for stuff. You got a search bar here. So if you can't find what you're looking for, so let's say I had just like a black video over here and I couldn't find it, I can just type in here black, and there it's black video, just narrows it down. And over here, there are some additional buttons that you're gonna need that you can use, the in and out buttons. You can take snapshots using export frame. You can toggle your proxies here. I have a video on proxies. I'm gonna leave the card above my head. I'm not gonna try to point to it because I always choose the wrong side. You've got a loop button. And if these things, and this section over here is customizable as well. If you go to this plus button over here, you're gonna see a whole bunch of stuff. So you can fully customize, choose what you want, drag it in or then remove it by, how do you drag it out? Reset layout, I guess? I don't know. So there are other tabs here, as I said, the color tab, the effects tab, the audio graphics. I'm not gonna go over these in this video. I will be making videos for these in the future. In fact, I already have a tour of the color tab and I'm gonna leave that info card above too. It's in one of these two spots. And that's it. That's Premiere. You've learned everything. Congratulations. Here's your certificate. Boop. I'm hiring to edit my next project. So if you're okay being paid practically minimum wage, give me a call. That's a joke. I'm not hiring any of you, all right? I hope this was helpful. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe. If there's specific topics within Premiere you want to have covered, please leave it in the comments. I've already got a list, but I'm always looking for new ideas of what to cover. And that's it. That's all. I hope you all have fun exploring Premiere. I used to. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of you. No, no. Oh my God, no, come back. No!